guys, welcome back to Fairies Tutorials. Now, in the last episode, we looked at vulnerable groups and also their nutritional problems. Today's episode, we'll be looking at the factors that threaten food security for the vulnerable groups in the community. Stay tuned. Section 1, Diet and Health. And in today's session, we'll be looking at content 10, which has to do with factors that threaten food security of vulnerable groups. Now, let us look at the learning objectives. By the end of the session, you should be able to differentiate between food security and food insecurity. Discussed at least 3 dimensions of food security and also discuss at least 3 factors that threatens food security. Now, definition of key terms. What is food security? Have you ever heard that term before? Now, let us find out what it is. Food security refers to the situation in which all people at all times have physical and economic access to enough safe and nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active life. Right? So food security refers to when all people at all times have access to physical and safe and nutritious food. Good. Now, what do you think is food insecurity? Based on these images that you're seeing some empty shelves, right? Now, food security at the national level occurs when people don't have adequate physical and economic access to safe, nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. So let's recap. Food security refers to the situation which involves all people at all times have physical and economic access to enough safe and nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. On the other hand, food insecurity at the national level occurs when people do not have adequate physical and economic access to what? To safe, nutritious food to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. Now, let's look at the main dimensions of food security. We have availability, access, stability, and also utilization. Now guys, let us look at them in details. Availability. Availability of food refers to the physical presence of adequate food supplies and is a function of domestic production, import capacity, and also existence of food stocks. Now, access. Access to food refers to the ability of people in a particular country or region to get hold of food by having sufficient resources to purchase or to produce it. Good. The next is utilization. Utilization refers to the ability of individuals to follow safe food storage practices, adequate knowledge of nutrition and food safety, access to clean water, and sanitation. Good. Now, stability. Stability refers to the ability of the household to consistently access and utilize food by having the resources to purchase or produce food at all times to meet the nutritional needs of family members. In previous session, guys, we looked at vulnerable groups within the community, right? Where we identify the specially abled, pregnant and lactating women, persons who are poverty stricken. We looked at infants, toddlers, and also the elderly. Now, we're going to look at the factors that threaten food security. And remember, food security is when all persons at all time have access to physical and economic access to food, right? That, and not only food that is also safe. Now we're going to look at the factors that threaten food security for these vulnerable groups, and that how these factors may bring about undernutrition and starvation in these vulnerable groups. Now, the first factor that we'll be looking at is natural disasters. Do you agree that natural disaster will affect food security? Right? And especially for the vulnerable groups, let's think about the poverty stricken, or let's think about the specially abled. Now, persons who may have to use a wheelchair, how do you think they will get access? Let's think now of the dimensions of food security. So we speak about availability, we speak about access, stability, and utilization. How is it that these persons will get access to adequate and safe and nutritious food? Even if one or two persons may access it, you may find out that majority of these vulnerable groups will be affected, right? So especially within the Caribbean islands, they are prone to natural disasters, right? In the form of hurricanes, floods, and also drought. And based on these images that you're seeing here, based on the top one you're seeing where flooding is taking place, so the livestock may drown, farmers may lose their crops, and as a result, food security is affected. There is no food that is available for purchase, and therefore food shortage will come into play, and then these vulnerable groups within the activity in the community will be affected. We also look at the second image. You're seeing here where persons are trapped on one side, so you may find out that persons cannot get access to what? Access to food, because certain natural disaster will cause an effect like what you're seeing here, and this was, I believe, the recent rains that took place, right? Now let us look at age. Now the elderly may experience physical and psychological factors. These persons are not so active anymore, so you may find out that they may need someone to help them to go to the market. They may depend on someone to even feed them, and sometimes these persons have psychological issues where they don't remember to eat, they don't remember to take their supplements, right? So these are some of the things that affect food security for the vulnerable group. We also speak of socioeconomic status, right? So the high price of food makes life difficult for many low-income consumers, since a lack of purchasing power deprives a person from access to food even though food is available. So if there's no money, if there's no economic access to food, this factor will also be a problem that affects food security for these vulnerable groups. We also speak of infectious diseases. Malnutrition and infectious disease are linked. Poor nutrition leaves children underweight, weakened, and vulnerable to infections. Diarrhea, intestinal worms, measles, malaria are causes of malnutrition. Infections can cause malnutrition through its effects on intake, absorption, and also the utilization of nutrients, and in some cases, the body's new requirements for them. Let us even take a look at an infectious disease that is happening now, right? So we may speak of the coronavirus. Do you think that outbreaks like those, epidemics like those, affect food security? Yes, it does, because persons are becoming sick, and also you may have that persons may have to stay at home because of certain restrictions, and therefore you may not be finding as much imports that are taking place, and also you may find out that farmers will fall on economic times because persons are not working, therefore there's no money to purchase food from those farmers, and guess what? They start to operate at a loss. Their items will start to get spoiled, and by the time you know it, they don't even have any money to put back in their business so that food can be available for these vulnerable groups and even the citizens on a whole. That we're at the end, you should be able to answer these questions. Number 1, differentiate between food security and food insecurity. Discuss at least 3 dimensions of food security, and also discuss at least 3 factors that threaten food security. Awesome, you've made it to the end of the video, but don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share with persons who you know will find this information useful. Thank you for making it fairest to the world.